Hello and welcome to Madoka Magicast, a podcast devoted to the dark magical girl anime, Puella Magi Madoka Magica. I'm your host Amanda, and I'm joined by my co-host Yasha.
Hi!
And my sometimes co-host Vanna.
Hello!
And our also sometimes co-host, the cat Sam, who maybe won't meow on command this one time.
Hey handsome, come here.
He's been meowing in the background.
There you go.
Oh, there he is.
That wasn't hard.
And Yasha and Vanna are owners of the biggest English language revolutionary girl Utena fan site, Empty Movement. I'm joining them as they watch Madoka Magica for the very first time ever, and we're going to talk about their reactions to each episode, what we love about it, and sometimes what we don't love about it. And basically just, I will experience the show with them for the first time, although I have seen it already, and I love it to death. So, hello guys, welcome to the podcast, our pre-show.
Hello!
Oh, glad to
We're
be
looking
here.
forward to it. I love watching like Utena with people that haven't seen it before, so I have feels as far as the fun you're gonna have there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Actually,
Sorry,
it's
go ahead.
probably, I was just thinking it might be a good idea to mention that by the time this comes out, we're probably going to be watching
episodes 5 and 6.
I think, of Madoka next week.
Which
And
I hear
people
is
can
a
join
thing,
us for
because
that.
everyone was like totally
Yeah.
waking out that we hadn't watched episode 3.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
last time we
so-
had about 20 people and everybody was really stoked.
Yeah.
It is spoiler free, but
Yeah.
it is a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
I was there when you streamed episodes 1 and 2, and the chat was a riot. So if anybody
Yeah.
would like to join us for that, I think we'll be doing
That's-
that like bi-weekly or so, probably.
Probably, yeah.
Probably. I'll work up a schedule and post it.
Totally.
Yes. So maybe we should just get right into the what we wanted to cover here on our pre-show. First, so this is Madoka Magicast. I actually have a degree in Japanese, but I've always been terrible at pronouncing Japanese. So please excuse me for whenever I say Madoka instead of Madoka, because I do it all the time, and I'm sorry. It's a side
No
effect
worries.
it's a side effect of growing up in the 90s watching anime and saying
Oh god.
and saying Shinji instead of Shinji and Misato instead of Misato with Evangelion. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's why I
Oh,
say,
yeah.
sometimes you'll hear me say Madoka, and that's why. So I apologize ahead of time.
Got it.
I should introduce myself first. I am a lifelong magical girl fan. I got into anime watching Sailor Moon on Toonami back in the late 90s. It came into my life at the exact right moment. That's how I try to explain to people why I love it so much, even though I'm almost 32 now. And it's definitely a show for babies, and I still love it. I was like, I first saw it when I was 12, and it made a huge impact on me. It basically changed my entire life. And I still love it to pieces. It's one of my probably the most favoritist thing I've got in my life. I love it. I got tons of Sailor Moon stuff. I've seen it a million times, etc., etc., etc. And I am also a fan of edgy bullshit, because I am trash in that way. So I also really, as I got older, I started to enjoy more, in a way, immature stories that were edgy, as everyone does as they turn into a teen.
Oh my god, have you
yeah.
seen Ping Pong Club? That's like the pinnacle of edgy teen bullshit, but complete garbage. If you haven't seen it,
That is the most anime sentence you've ever said. Have you seen this show called Ping Pong Club? It is so dark.
no. It's not dark, it's
Oh.
stupid.
It's
Oh,
Japanese
stupid.
Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, stupid edgy.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's,
Well,
it's
then maybe that
beautiful.
makes more sense.
No.
Although you can't blame me for assuming that there was some kind of edgy sports anime about
No.
ping pong. Yeah.
No, I
There,
get you.
I mean, that is kind of the anime
That is
concept. Look for that in 2020, I guess.
Do the remake.
Yeah, so I also love superhero stories. I love visual novels, another trash medium that I love.
Oh,
and
yes.
I first watched Madoka Magica shortly after it came out in 2011. I didn't watch it when it was airing, but I started watching it after it had stopped airing, probably within the first year it had come out, and everybody I knew was talking about it. So I figured I had to check it out. And before binge watching was a thing, because this was in 2011, so Netflix was more of just a DVD by mail service. So the concept of like binge watching something wasn't really a popular term yet. But basically, I binge watched it in an entire weekend. I watched like 8 episodes one morning, and then I watched the rest of it the next day, or something crazy like that. And I loved it. And I still love it. However, there are things I don't like about it that maybe we can talk about. I'd love to talk about some of the things I don't like about it. But overall, it is in my top 5 of favorite things ever. So, like, which maybe leads us into an introduction for you guys. Because after Sailor Moon, my number 2 is Revolutionary Girl Utena. And that is what y'all are all about.
That is our craft.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think it's the same story you had. Like Utena, I think I landed on it anyway at like just the right moment.
Right.
Of course, the right moment for Utena probably involves some kind of trauma in your life. I
Yeah.
swear to God.
Well, I was 15. So,
yeah. I mean, so everything was traumatic.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, same for me. Like, Vanna and I met back in 2002. I want to say November 22nd, 2002 is when I emailed you. Yes, I remember that because I looked it up once. I can't remember why, and then it just stuck. But
I had already been running Empty Movement for 2 years by then.
Yeah.
So Empty Movement is, in case anyone doesn't know,
our website.
My website.
Your
that
website.
You joined in. I was in the Utena fandom like from the beginning, so I have that kind of cred. I built a website for it because I loved it back when everybody who liked an anime made a website, because that was literally all there was to do. It wasn't like you had social media or anything like that.
Yeah, you couldn't blog
option.
anything. So.
Right.
There was mailing lists and making fan shrines that were tacky as fuck, and, you know, that kind of freaking out about Bishonen and all that kind of really excellent deep diving into the material that existed back then.
Yeah.
So I ended up building this website, and it picked up, and it got so I couldn't handle it anymore because it was literally the only fan site on that scale. So it was basically like the Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and like Instagram of Utena. So I would get like 40 and 50 pieces of fan art a day and all this kind of crap.
Wow.
And I would spend like all day coding, and I was just
Yeah.
It's like, this is literally a full-time job, and it was costing me like $60, $70 a month in hosting and all this stuff. So I was like, all right, I'm getting rid of this website. I can't handle it anymore. I just want to play EverQuest and be left alone.
And so that's when I emailed her saying, because I noticed that she was getting a lot of flack for it, and I was like, hey, no, good on you. Good for you giving up something that's not making your life any better. And that kind of went into a reversal.
Yeah. Where it was like, well, why don't we just do this together?
And then we stole the site back from the person we gave it to without telling her.
Yeah. I was like, I tried to give it away to somebody,
but she didn't do anything with it.
So when we took it back, we never even really told her we were taking it back.
We just took it back and changed the passwords, and that was it,
basically.
I bet, I wouldn't be surprised if she never even noticed.
I don't think she ever noticed.
Yeah. We never heard from her again.
And so we've been running this website ever since. And then a few years ago, we started moving on to like Tumblr, and I went on Twitter in 2017, and now we're just virus everywhere.
Yes. You guys, so I didn't mention, but I have a Sailor Moon blog on Tumblr called Sailor Shitpost, which has exactly the kind of content it sounds like it has. So one of the things I appreciate about your Twitter with Utena is that you guys sometimes enjoy the shitpost too. So
yeah.
I mean,
shitposts are the price you pay for admission to get at our actual content.
Like, you have to put up with our shitposting.
I like to make people pay for what I give them.
Yeah.
So
one of the things I also love about Empty Movement, and is part of why I wanted you guys to do this podcast with me, and thank you so much for saying yes, is all of your like really good deep analysis that's on the Empty Movement website.
Oh my god.
Utena is just that kind of show.
You chew on it. And like back when Madoka came out, I remember like we got bombarded, and like it was a big deal in the Utena fandom, and people were like, oh my god, you have to watch this, you have to watch this, it's just like Utena. Which is great
Because
for people
we're
that
us.
don't know us, but
Yeah.
for us, we are like
Yeah.
uppity, angry cats, and if you tell us to do something,
We're
will
like,
do it.
no, I'm not gonna do it.
I'm too
No.
cool to do what you tell me.
Yeah.
So we refused just straight out to watch it. For,
I mean,
like,
that's why I've never seen a
ages.
Marvel movie except for Iron Man.
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
just said, no, I'm not gonna do
but,
it.
like, on a
some of
cursory-
them are legitimately good.
I don't care.
But, like, with Madoka, like, I remember, like, kind of seeing some of the artwork in the periphery and being like, I don't know. I don't know what this has to do with Uchina. I don't see anything to suggest this would be like Uchina. And the funny thing is, like, if you had shown me, like, the little trippy sequences, I would have not thought that. But nobody ever showed you that. All of the production artwork and stuff was just, like, cute Madoka and her outfit stuff. Which
We don't
was
care about
the,
cute
Which was the
outfits.
bait and switch, but at the time I didn't know it was a bait and switch, and nobody would tell me that.
It's 'cause
well,
it's
everybody
kinda
wanted
like
you to
spoilers.
experience it.
It is kind of
Yeah.
like spoilers, but everyone was also telling me I was gonna like Cubase, so they were already giving me spoilers.
So
Yeah,
hold on. Maybe we should explain that
we
for our
should do that.
listeners. Why does
So-
everyone think you're gonna like Cube?
Well, because everybody knows I don't give two shits for anime mascots, but I will zero in on villains like they are cocaine and I'm dying
So
inside.
there have actually been many jokes over the years about Cube and Vanna wanting to fuck the cat.
Which is a spoiler. If you tell me I'm gonna like Cube, it is a spoiler. You have told me who the villain is.
You know, well, I'll save what I'm about to say to the end where we do some predictions. But before then, so we kind of got into it before we move on. We kind of got into it, but listeners should know that, you know, the content of this podcast may not be all positive all the time because you guys have seen the first and second episode at this point, but other than that, they have no idea what else happens after the second episode.
But
So the first and second episodes that are upcoming when we do those will be, you know, after the fact they've seen both of them. But from 3 onwards, it'll be their first time discussing it after finishing watching it. And we mentioned earlier they're going to stream when they watch new episodes too, so you can jump in the chat to see what they think. So that means, you know, they're going to be honest. So if they don't like something, they're going to say it because that's how we're going to do this. We're not going to pretend. Yeah, we're not going to pretend to like it if we don't like it. And
You know what? Honestly, I'm way more positively inclined to it than I was when we started.
yeah, after having seen the first 2 episodes,
so-
there's
Yeah.
a lot going on under the surface there. And
If someone
is-
had told me this was totally like Obuchi, Genu Obuchi pulling an Ikuhara kind of stuff, I would have been way more likely to see it a long time ago.
oh, good.
But-
Well, that's good. That's a good sign. But if
So, yeah.
it does, if and maybe when it does get to maybe some of our criticisms, you know, I will attempt to play devil's advocate just in case anyone in the audience thinks you guys are full of crap. Or if I think you're full of crap, devil's advocate will be necessary. Although I love what you do anyway, so whatever.
we are
By
full of
all
shit.
means,
though.
tell
That's
us
what
we're
we
full
do.
of crap. We love being argued at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it should be an interesting discussion, and I hope everyone listening is looking forward to it. So let's get into so now that we've covered that, let's get back to what you guys were saying about, you know, the pre-release initial impressions that people had about the show before it started airing. So one of the things you mentioned were the character designs, and those are by an artist named Ume Aoki. She is a female artist who does doujinshi and who I think works for Neko Neko Soft doing visual novel artwork. And
I feel like we actually like kind of commented on that when we saw the designs initially too, because they had that like video novel look about them,
like visual novel look.
Yeah.
So I can drop some links into our chat here of those some of the character designs if you guys want to take a refresher. So this one is Madoka, the main character. This was her original character design. So if you might notice there's a few differences now to how she actually turned out in the show. But that was Ume Aoki's initial design. Same thing with
extremely pinku.
Yeah. And the same thing with Homura also, who I also just linked to you. So, I don't know, what's your impression of these characters just looking at their designs?
Looking at the character design here.
Go back to Homura.
No. No, because I have things to say.
All right.
I mean, looking at Madoka's design, like, they very much want you to believe that this is going to be innocent.
It's got a Magic Knight Ray-Earth look, almost.
It does have a Magic Knight Ray-Earth look. That's, like, literally the only magical girl anime I remember. I am not super up on magical girl anything, so that's actually pretty interesting for me, is being able to learn more about that aspect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But just the way that she's got the eyes that are downturned at the corners.
Yeah. They're very doe-eyed.
Yeah.
It's very like
doe-eyed.
It's very
she's got
precious
the cupcake
moments.
dress. That's what they call a cupcake dress on Toddlers and Tiaras. So
it is. Yes, we know a lot about magical girl dressing from Toddlers and Tiaras.
Look, I like garbage, okay? That's why I married Vanna. But no, like, she's wearing a cupcake dress that's like child star, innocent, you know.
No, this
like,
is
what
go back to
supposed
homework because I want to test.
We'll go.
I want to test this theory that I had. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, it's a little bit. I feel like when we saw all of the character designs, kind of side by side, Madoka's was much more juvenile than the others.
Yes,
Well, she's a lot more roughly.
I would agree that hers is a lot more cutesy.
Yeah, like, she's technically the same age as everybody else, I think, but hers is much more, like, childlike and innocent.
And ruffles and poofy
and
shoulders and a little, like, lace on the end of her gloves. And
whereas Homer is much more like, I just got shit to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, Homer's got somewhere to be, and she's got shit to do. And then
she's
I also
got a black bow and arrow because she's bad.
Yeah. And then I also linked you Sayaka and Mami. So Sayaka definitely has more of a, I guess I want to say like almost like a little wizard or a little knight.
She's got a breastplate.
She's got a breastplate.
That's an actual breastplate.
She's got a breastplate and she's got a cape.
Yeah, so I would go like sword fighter kind of.
Yeah, she's all like RPG looking. She's like way more like an RPG trope.
And then Mami looks like she's like a Annie Oakley almost kind of character. Yeah, you know,
kind of. The hat says Archer to me for some reason.
Yeah, that could also work.
Well, she's a range.
Yeah, you know what? If this was a role-playing group, she'd be like the ranged fighter.
Actually, Mami's the only one that has a short-range weapon. Because the other two have bows and arrows.
Sayaka has the sword. The other two have bows and arrows. Mami has a gun, which is not a short-range weapon.
Yeah. I farted. Other way around.
Yeah.
Other way around.
But no, like,
Sayaka's
she's the one who's got the Robin Hood thing going on, kind of. You know what I mean? Like just on... Not on their weapons, but on costume design. I would class probably Sayaka is going to be the
It's
sword
interesting
fighter.
That the short-haired girl is the one that's got the close-range weapon.
Yeah.
I just want that noted.
Yeah.
Well, I should say there is one other magical girl in the show who apparently her original design by Ume Aoki is not online. I've looked everywhere for it and I can't find it, so I technically cannot show it to you. There is a red-haired girl very briefly in the opening, if you remember.
Yeah,
she's in like 1 second of the opening.
Glimpses.
Yeah, that's the other one. Yeah, and maybe I can like just Google a quick picture of her just to show it to you. All right, Panda will edit this big pause out later.
Now I'm like, challenge accepted. I want to find things on the internet.
No, but really, like, if this was an RPG party, I would have classed Madoka would be like the bard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's kind of like
she would be the rogue.
Now that I'm like aware that there is
fighter.
like a background in like visual novels and video games and stuff like that, I keep like, because I don't have a lot of magical girl experience, but I do have my 90s and plus JRPG cred.
Yep.
Yeah.
And filtered through that, everything like holds up like really, really well. Like Madoka's like that classic.
It's got
the one in your RPG that looks like that.
Yeah.
Like every RPG
had that.
Even if all of your other characters were grown-ass adults, they were banging.
Yeah.
The new version of, or the when they rebooted Star Ocean for PS3 or whatever, and it had that horrible little kid that every time she opened her mouth, I was like, oh no, please stop. And then
Nope.
a seagull shat on us and we leveled up or something.
You opened a box and there was shit in it or something.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
And
I
you
opened a
leveled up.
chest, there was poop in it, and we leveled up.
Oh my
I
god.
was like,
That's-
damn.
Okay, hold on.
Like,
Pause the
Oh, we
poop
found it?
discussion here.
All right.
Okay.
All right, here is let's hope this image works. Here is it's very small, but that is the other one.
She looks totally unimpressed with our shit.
She is. She's
her.
I like
rolling
her.
eyes at you. Yeah, so her name is Kyoko. For people who are listening and are wondering who we're talking about Kyoko right now. So she has I want to say it's almost like a formal dress, but also sporty, like maybe sporty at the same time, kind of.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think where those design influences come from. Like what century did they do the overdresses like that in? Because I know it's... Oh, damn it. Mocha would be so
It's
much
kind of
better at this
Victorian-y.
than I am. It is, it's got a kind
It's
of like,
not-
especially
yeah,
with the
a little
throat
bit
cut out
after,
there, there's,
yeah.
and the high collar, that's Victorian, but I know in medieval era, they used to have the overdresses over
the skirt and stuff.
regular skirt and dress and all of that, but I can't remember
She's
what
got like
century it
onks
was.
or something on her pants there, on her shoes there.
Yeah, that's
Well,
pretty neat.
I don't want to
And she's
say
got
too
cuffs.
much because I'm not.
And she's
Another
got
thing is I'm
cuffs.
going to try to not spoil anything. You guys.
Oh my
She's-
god!
she's
You know,
got-
every time
she's
you
got
say that
jacket
there's a
cuffs,
spoiler,
okay, so she's definitely like someone I'll probably like. I'm just gonna.
I'm just gonna point out every time you say that there's a spoiler, that just makes us go,
I
there's
know.
something
That's
here.
why I'm
You
trying
gotta throw
to
some
not
in
say
there.
that. That's
You
why I'm
gotta
trying
throw
to not
some
say
in
that.
there to throw us off course.
Okay,
You gotta
all
lie
right.
to
Okay,
us. You gotta tell
but
me
she
things
has
are
pointedly
spoilers
not
when they're
said
not.
whether we would like this character or not, which
We probably like just based on attitude alone.
yeah.
I mean, she looks like she would
she
not
looks
be
like
out of
she's got a
place.
cigarette in
Yeah,
her mouth.
I was just gonna say that.
she just wants to like be done
Yeah,
with all of our shit.
this is me.
so-
I'm the
the
magical
redhead,
girl
she's the
that's
big
done
nerd.
with your shit and wants a cigarette.
I think yeah.
It's me.
This is us. I feel like.
Well,
Speaking
just so
to
you know, that is in fact Pocky in her mouth.
Oh,
That's fine.
all right, you like close enough.
I would, yeah, that's close enough.
You can be chewing Pocky as if it were a cigarette.
Yeah.
And you can also be done with the world while eating
While eating
Pocky.
Pocky.
Actually, I think that's kind of
Right.
required, isn't it?
Done with the world while eating Pocky is a good description of Kyoko. But let's not get into it.
All right.
So,
Oh, I can't
you guys also watched the pre-release PVs and the
Mhm.
commercials. And what did you guys think of those? Because it's really
They were very
interesting.
wholesome.
Yeah, if you've seen the show and you've never watched them, you should check them out. Search it on YouTube and see if you can find the PVs that they did for the show, because they are very misleading.
Yeah, they are very
Yeah.
wholesome.
Yeah.
Super, super wholesome.
It's got cute little music in the background. The nice little pink logo comes up. There's inspirational quotes from the characters and all of each of their cutesy character designs. And it is definitely trying to sell you what looks to be a pretty generic, maybe visually interesting, but otherwise quite generic magical girl show.
Which,
yeah, there's
to be-
definitely like this is for kids.
To be honest, that's the major reason we've never ever picked up on it. Because, I mean, usually when you see that, you are led
Not
to
wrong
believe
to assume that is what you're getting.
Yeah, that's what
But,
you're
like,
getting.
When these PVs came out, and I'm trying to remember, like you would probably remember better than we do, but when this first came out and everyone had like this huge buzz around it, did people realize this was airing at like jerk off hours?
Yeah,
2
it came out at 2 a.m. So that's
Yeah.
If you're listening and you want to shed some light on what the reception to this was at the very beginning in the lead up, send us an email. We'll link all our stuff or a message. We'll plug all our social media at the end. Because as I said, I started watching this maybe the first year after it started airing, so I was not a part of all that. But from what I understand, the show did air on TV in Japan at like 2:00 in the morning. So it couldn't have possibly been completely convincing as a show for little babies.
Well,
yeah.
Okay, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I have something to say about this.
Okay.
Knowing when the show aired and the segment of the population that it was directed at really kind of gives you an impression that leads into our auteur here.
Yeah, so the official, I'm pretty sure that the actual target audience of Madoka was adult men. And the reason I say that is the merchandising. So it is, you know,
Evangelion Effect, though.
Yeah, it had the Evangelion Effect. And you know, it's kind of for men, quote unquote, in the same way that Evangelion is. So it doesn't mean that women don't like it and that it has no appeal to other people. But you know,
but if that's the audience that they were aiming at, and we should find out what day it ran. Because if it ran at a weekday on 2 a.m., like that further tells you more about what the audience they're expecting was. That's like hikikomori territory.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, maybe they were trying to not, you know, obviously it's not a show for babies, but maybe they were trying to hide the fact that it was, you know, in hindsight, a very, very different magical girl show.
It's just extremely shifty, is what it is.
It's definitely...
Here, let's put on this little child's film at 2 a.m. Yeah,
but at the same time, that audience wanted not to be marketed to directly. Like, that's very, like... Fair. Like, that's like,
like the male fans of Pretty Cure?
Bronies.
Yeah.
Like, bronies don't... They got uppity the moment that anything got marketed to them. They wanted it to belong to someone else, and they wanted to be able to co-opt it and take it for their own. So I think there was probably a very delicate balance there where it might have been aimed at that group, but if it was too clearly aimed at that group, then
they wouldn't have wanted it.
The illusion is shattered.
Here's my standing moment number one. So one thing I will at least give to Madoka is that it wasn't a situation where it literally was for little girls and the men just came along and took it.
Yeah.
My Little
Amen
Pony.
to that.
Yeah, so at least they made their own thing.
Yeah.
It is theirs.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is that there's a parallel in the way the audience would have reacted.
Yeah.
Not necessarily
I get that.
like basically when I look at the kind of surroundings of the show itself, like the merchandise and the time it was aired, the audience it was trying to hook in, it looks to me like Madoka did the brony thing long before bronies happened.
Oh yeah, no, that market has always been
a deliberate thing.
Yeah.
When was bronies a thing? When did that start?
That was
God, I don't even remember.
And that was the other way around because My Little Pony was explicitly marketed to girls. Yeah. Nobody was planning on a bunch of creepy dudes showing up.
No, I know that, but I'm saying that Madoka was a deliberate effort to do that where My Little Pony was not.
Yeah.
Also, don't remember that this is anime, so there's technically been a huge adult male audience for little girl shows for like decades already.
Yeah, this is like this is a well-known quantity.
No, I'm just using the two that I'm like
most
super familiar with and like,
so I mean,
I'm sure there are
I
other
stand
shows
that
that have
myself. I'm glad to see they're making their own.
Yeah. To be honest, that's a really sophisticated approach. That's a really interesting way of hooking your target market. However, this is where the kind of not so savory elements tend to come in because then you get fan service.
Yeah, it's very hard to watch this kind of media without
remembering that that's the case.
And when we watch the episodes, we will definitely get into that.
Absolutely.
My take on that is that I knew nothing about the show. I knew nothing about its author. I knew nothing about its target audience the first time I saw it. And I thought it was amazing. And I didn't pick up on any of that stuff the first time I watched it. And I kind of learned all about it later.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah, so in my take is the original series, before it started getting milked and all the spin-offs happened, that original series is really good. And I think out of any other thing, that has the most cross appeal to other people. It's got a lot. Yeah, it's got it has significantly less like sexual fan service and just regular fan service, like lasers firing, that kind of fan service, like fight scenes. Yeah. It has a It has a lot less of that. So I really love the original series, and some of the stuff that happens afterward is a little hit and miss. But anyway, let's not get into that yet. This is just the pre-show.
We have 13 whole episodes
I do find
of being
it
able to get
interesting,
into
though, because like I said, like I wasn't super deep into this, but kind of in the periphery, kind of being told about it and hearing about it from the sidelines. I think the American fandom and people that got exposed to Madoka, like as it was coming out in the States at the time, kind of had the same experience you did. I don't remember anybody talking about Gen Urobuchi. I don't remember anybody saying that this had a different market than other, you know, typical shoujo magical girl content that everyone was chewing on at the time.
Right.
So I think a lot of the American fan base that got on board early, especially like the people that were trying to sell it to me and Yasha, nobody ever mentioned any of like that element, that there was this sort of different background and different history to Madoka versus, you know, say Magic Knights Rares or whatever else.
So the experience in North America would have been extremely different from the experience in Japan. It's something that Lane tried to exploit.
It did.
When Serial Experiments Lane came out.
I've seen that. I remember that show.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I watched that show drunk once and it gave me a nosebleed. Anyway. But Lane was actually a deliberate attempt to market to Japan and North America in a way that would highlight the differences between the two of them. Mm-hmm. That North American fans would get a completely different experience than Japanese fans would get. And I feel like Madoka really stumbled on that same thing here, where North American fans have completely different experience from what Japanese fans would have gotten out of it.
Well, it speaks well to it, because, like, when you're being told it's a male audience and a male market and all of that stuff, you're looking for certain things, and you're looking for a more adult depth because you know it's being aimed at adults, not necessarily children. But the American fandom that experienced this blind of all that still found a lot of things that they felt were way above and beyond, you know, the general, you know, like complexity of magical girls. So.
Yeah, and let's talk about Gen Urobuchi for a second, because in case anybody listening does not know what we're talking about. Gen Urobuchi is the guy who wrote Madoka Magica. He is an author in the visual novel industry in Japan. He works for the VN developer Nitro Plus, which makes I want to say like very I guess
pool.
Yeah, I guess like what's the right word for it? Like kind of kinky, like in a weird way, visual novels.
It's kind of guro-y
a
bit.
There's a lot of guro-y stuff there.
Lots of guro,
guilty sex.
Guilty sex.
Guilty
like,
sex.
all of the sexuality is always, like, all guilty and tormented and gory.
Yeah, some quasi-sexual assault. If you've played a visual novel, you know what I'm talking about. It's that whole Japanese cultural thing.
Like, we're like, yep.
Yeah.
Check.
He started his career at Nitro Plus, and his first big work was the visual novel Saya no Uta, which you guys have played, apparently.
Yes. Yeah. And I really want to play it with you and comment on that.
Yeah,
that would be fun as hell. We should do it.
Ridiculous, and I want to watch that also.
We should Twitch stream a playthrough of it.
Yeah. I recently watched Saya no Uta, and I thought it was great and also terrible. It's definitely one of those, like... Honestly, when I finished playing it, I was like, why is this a lowly hentai game? Because that's what it is. You could take out all of the sex scenes, or just make Saya look a little bit older, and it would be flawless. But because she looks so young, and there's so much sexual content in it,
you just cringe the entire time.
Ow. Yeah. But the story is amazing. So yes.
Yeah, no, it's so good.
In other words, listeners, Gen Urobuchi wrote a lowly hentai game with a really good story.
Directly before he wrote
around
Madoka.
And being problematic as balls.
Directly before he did Madoka Magica.
And I just want to quickly tie that to holy shit, Madoka looks young and that makes me suspicious. Anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my own theory on why they did that. I don't necessarily think it was meant to be sexual. At least not at the beginning. But we can, as I keep saying, we can get into that later.
I'm sure that's a theme that's going to develop over the course of the show, to be honest.
Other things that Urobuchi has worked on include Fate Zero, Kamen Rider Game. I hear people say that Kamen Rider Game is basically just Madoka but better. I don't know about that, but maybe I'll have to watch it sometime. Psycho Pass, which just got a season 3, I heard. And
I heard, yeah.
Thunderbolt Fantasy, aka the sexy puppet anime.
What?
Do you guys not know about the sexy puppet anime?
We don't know anything about it.
I am getting an image, and I am going to link you an image because...
what are you going to put in my eyeballs here?
It is freaking amazing. The most beautiful puppets you have ever seen. They made a TV show out of them. Hold on. Okay, here we go. All right, here's. I'm just going to link you the article that has a picture. So here we go.
Like we're like, take this journey of discovery.
Usually when this happens, it ends up in something like Omegaverse.
The fuck?
Anyway.
It looks like a 90s Final Fantasy game.
That's isn't a lot of that like Chinese inspired? Like there's a lot of, I can't remember, what the hell did I see that was, but yeah,
it's like watching Final Fantasy.
Yeah. They're very beautiful. They are very beautiful.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah.
The fuck? This is trippy. I like this.
I would love to watch that. But anyway, he also wrote that show. And he is known for basically he's known for writing like dark deconstructions. So he apparently, when he was a little kid, he had a very serious illness and almost died, and he was in the hospital for an extended period of time. And it kind of made him a little bit cynical, I guess. Or, like many near-death traumatic experiences can make a person, So he writes a lot of stuff. He's known for writing a lot of stuff that has more cynical perspectives on heroism and love and friendship and superpowers and selflessness. He likes to write sympathetic villains and like bittersweet endings, like tragic endings, basically. When I say tragic, I mean the traditional meaning of tragic, where it's sad.
Everybody
but
dies.
It's sad, but there's also something
little
about it that
hope.
Feels triumphant at the end. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of his thing. And Sayo no Uta, technically, I think, was not the biggest hit ever, but nevertheless, they still tried to hide the fact that Gen Urobuchi worked on the show before it started airing.
I mean, I'm surprised
that's a spoiler.
He didn't have a freaking alias for that.
Yeah, he should have.
That's a really, honestly, when we play through it, we're gonna have to make sure that nobody knows about it. Unless we trust them, because it will get a Twitch channel taken down. Absolutely.
We could try to do it on Rabbit instead of Twitch. That might be a little bit safer.
I'll just make a throwaway. I'll make a burner Twitch.
That works too.
Us giving all the fucks.
But, like, that's the kind of thing that you really don't want people connecting to your magical girl anime.
Especially if you're trying to trick people as to the nature of your magical girl.
Yeah. And unfortunately, apparently it leaked before the show began that he worked on it. And he was actually forced to go on Twitter and be like, I'm so happy that I got to work on Madoka Magica. I hope you're all looking forward to a happy and hopeful magical girl series. Like, he had to actually try to cover his ass on Twitter.
Oh my God.
So I think between the fact that it was airing at 2 a.m. and that Gen Urobuchi wrote it, I think people might have known that there was going to be something different about this show.
Did we mention the nickname? Because the nickname is great.
People, so the English fandom calls him Urobutcher.
I like it. That's great.
Yeah, his tendency
that sells me.
His tendency to make all of his characters suffer in everything he writes. And
sounds good to me.
Here's a nice quote from him that I pulled before we started recording. I have nothing but contempt for the deceitful thing men call happiness, and find myself with no choice but to push my characters, whom I pour my heart and soul out to create, into the abyss of tragedy. Ooh.
You know what? Like, when you compare like this to like Hideaki Anno and all of these like tragic auteurs, and then Ikuhara shows up, he's like, I like dumb people! And then makes like this ridiculous grim dark shit.
I like dumb, hot lesbians.
Yeah!
Fukuhara likes.
I like dumb women. Wait.
So yeah, so apparently I have not, the only other thing that he's done that I've seen, that I've experienced is Sayano Uta, and I hear that more recently he is lightened up a little bit, and some of his characters have, you know, more of a chance of a happy ending. But earlier on, at least, he was well known for writing pretty harrowing and tragic stories and sympathetic villains and that kind of stuff. Which makes sense because Sayano Uta is basically a story about villains. Yeah. And they try to make them as sympathetic as possible. So
that everybody in it is garbage.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the two main characters are just completely horrible. Utterly horrible.
I liked it.
I know you liked
horrible. It. I mean, they're horrible, but also he writes the story in a way where you can see things from their perspective.
Oh, definitely.
And kind of feel for them a little bit, which is...
Yep.
Which makes me feel quite conflicted, but that's also why it's so good that he managed to do something like that, you know? So
it's not hard to make someone feel sympathetic toward a sympathetic person that makes, you know, cultural sense. It's a lot harder to sell to feel like bad for someone that you know is
a really bad person.
Yeah.
Making some shitty choices in life.
Yeah. And actually, well, I should save this for this if we do a Sayano Uta episode, which I think we should. But my favorite ending in Sayano Uta was the bad ending, quote unquote. That like
I don't know how to get the bad ending.
I'm like, okay,
really
bad ending. I'm like, what do we mean by
they bad endings?
Okay, hold on. Let's save that.
Okay, let's
not get into that yet. Okay. Yeah, that's basically, you know, everything to cover, like, before we get into the show, really. I don't want to talk too much about it going into it, because we want to save that for episode 1. But before we close out our pre-show here, why don't we talk about our predictions for the series? So I know you guys have seen episode 1 and 2 now, but but let's just hear maybe what you think might be ahead, or any crazy predictions about characters, or anything like that. Although if you think you're about to say something spoilery and you don't want to hear how I'm going to react to it, don't say it. So, because I know sometimes the way I respond to something can be a spoiler. I'm trying not to do that.
I'm gonna say Homura's right. Whatever is going on, Homura's right.
I'm gonna argue that Kyubei did nothing wrong by the end.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's
to be fair, full disclosure, I have been somewhat spoiled.
She has not spoiled me, which
I have not spoiled
really
her,
hard.
Which is extremely hard.
Yeah, we talk about everything.
This is the hardest challenge in a relationship.
Oh, you can do it. You can do it. I believe in you.
Yes. But I have been somewhat spoiled about Kyubei's rationale, we'll say, but I don't exactly know how you get there and what happens to everybody in the meantime.
Okay, that's good. That's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad, but when I say I'm going to think Kyubei did nothing wrong, I'm saying that based on a prediction, not actually knowing exactly all of that, but also I will probably defend whatever went on there.
We've seen the first 2 episodes now, so it's not entirely baseless speculation, but when I look at how Homura is presented and how, you know from the very beginning that she's going to have a really, really close tie with Madoka, you know that she's going to be really important to her. She's not presented as a villain, although she's presented as intimidating and scary, which tells me that whatever she's got going on, she's probably going to turn out to be right.
Yeah, she's gotten through some shit.
Yeah.
Now, it also makes you wonder why she wouldn't just ask for help, right? If she has some kind of issue.
I have no idea about it.
I like how actually that didn't occur to either of us, because we're like, rational decision to just do everything yourself and not seek help.
Murder the cat.
Well, we're Toga fans. This makes sense to us.
Yeah, I know.
I love Toga. Anyway, let's. This is not Imagine Me and Utana. This is a.
No, it's not.
Madoka
But remember,
Magicast.
my friend Oscar is listening.
Drawing a lot of.
My friend Oscar is listening,
true,
and Oscar will die if we don't mention Utana every 5 minutes.
I am predicting that a lot of my reading of this show, whether it's like negative or positive or whatever is going to end up getting informed by like the whole auteur thing.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
find
fine.
that very hard to prevent myself
Absolutely.
from doing.
And we can talk about that. And if I feel the need to, I don't know, say, hold on guys, that's getting too crazy, I will.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
oh,
it's
for
fine.
sure.
And, I am coming at this with a different experience where it was just another really good magical girl show that people were telling me to watch, and I knew nothing about the author. I knew nothing about what was going to come afterwards when the show got popular. I was just, oh, this is a new thing? They never make new magical girl shows anymore. Sure.
So we have this magical girl show. What do we have after that? Because I know there's at least one movie.
Yeah, so what they did was they remade the series into 2 movies, and then the sequel to the series was the 3rd movie.
Okay.
I actually think the 2 movies are a better watch than the series, because they cut out some of the slower moving parts, and they cut out some of the fat and slim it down. But you can't really start with the movies because it's not really the full experience, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I'm sure we will get to the movies eventually.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, I wasn't sure how many things we had after the show, because we'll definitely do all that.
Yeah, there's also like at least 5 or 6 manga spin-offs, like side stories.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a PSP game that has never been released in English, which we'll probably never get to play unless it got fan
Nobody's
translated.
translated.
I don't know.
I don't
was
know.
pretty popular.
Are you guys lazy fans or something?
Lazy fans. Hey,
And then
look, it only took us 10 years to get the Utena game translated.
Yeah. And then there is the cell phone game, which is currently going and is, from what I understand, very popular in Japan. I was in Japan a year and a half ago for my honeymoon, and there was Madoka stuff all over the place.
Yes, there was.
New characters from the cell phone game, and now recently, like within the past 3 or 4 months, they announced a new anime based on the story of the cell phone game, which I'm really looking forward to, hoping it's good, but of course I'll watch it anyway. But
interesting. Yeah, that might coincide with our podcast.
Yeah. Madoka is still going strong, almost 10 years later now, 9 years later now. So it's interesting to see where it's going to go moving forward, although that's another thing that maybe we don't want to get too far into, because I got a lot of opinions on that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, even if it did launch a genre, which we can't really say for our trash.
Yeah. That's another thing that
that's
is
part of
informing
the
how we
conversation
think
as
about
far
that.
As
yeah.
auteur and all that, so.
Yeah. It did launch kind of a series of copycat anime trying to bank on this idea of a violent magical girl show. I have not seen any of those, but everything I hear about them, they just sound like
bad.
Trash to me. Like, they just don't sound good. And they sound a lot more sexual, a lot more violent than Madoka. Madoka it's the situation the characters are in that makes Madoka really tragic and interesting.
Right.
The show's not really that explicitly violent, and
no, it didn't seem that way to me.
There's not that many deaths. There's very, as I've said a couple times, the original series has pretty minimal sexual fan service in it. It's actually it's really not that bad. It's one of those situations where the situation feels really bad, and you feel for the characters a lot.
But what
some
you're
of the
looking at isn't strictly explicit.
Yeah,
I think I follow that.
Yeah, and some of these other shows, I think in one of these shows there was an incident where one of the magical girls commits suicide by hanging herself, and then the show explicitly shows you that after she died, she pissed her pants, and there's piss on the floor.
Great.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that people are putting in the copycat shows, where it's okay.
Yeah.
You
missed the point.
You missed the point. You missed the point of this. There's no substance to what you're doing. You missed the substance.
You're just being edgy for the sake of being edgy.
Which is so boring.
Yeah.
And again, that's what kept us from watching for so long, is we knew about the spin-offs, and we're like, well, if that's what this is,
then,
that was another thing that definitely was I don't know about that.
So I am grateful that y'all badgered us enough.
And if you're a listener of the show and you've seen any of those other anime that we've been talking about, the copycat dark magical girl anime, and you want to come on the show sometime and talk about them with us, that would be great. Even if you love them, tell us why you love them. You can come on and talk about it. Although that would be far in the future, of course. We have to at least get through the series first.
Spoilers, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
My prediction is that both of you will like it. I think Vanna's favorite character is not going to be Kyubey.
Oh my, that is a take.
Ooh, that's pretty fucking spicy, actually.
I don't think Vanna's favorite character. I think you're going to like Kyubey, but I don't think he's going to be your favorite character. I won't say which one I think is going to be your favorite, because obviously that's another thing where it's like,
that's a spoiler.
What does that mean? Now I'm going to think about it. Now it's like a spoiler.
Now I'm like, oh shit.
But I do think at this point, since you guys have seen the first 2 episodes by now and you're kind of warming up to it and you're interested in watching the rest, I do think you're going to enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to talking about it at least.
Yeah, me too. And I still really, really want to talk about that opening at some point. Really
why don't we, that's a good thing to maybe save for the beginning of episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So you can look forward to that at the beginning of episode 1.
Yes.
We'll talk about the Madoka opening and the first episode.
Absolutely. That would close out our pre-show. Shall we plug ourselves as is required on any podcast?
As is required.
Like and subscribe.
All right.
So you can follow the show on YouTube or on SoundCloud. If I'm assuming you're listening to this on either of those, there will be links in the description for all of our stuff. But either way, you can follow me on Twitter at Lambda Power. So that's Lambda, like the Greek letter, and then the word power. And my Twitter also has like the profile link as a link to all the other stuff I do, like my Sailor Ship Post blog, my artwork, my visual novels, all the other stuff I do. You guys?
And honestly, the best way to look at anything we do, which I'm not sure why you would want to, because we're horrible people, but ohtori.nu, and that has links to Tumblr, Twitter. It has links to Morphology, where we're doing reproductions of some Utena stuff.
We do have a Discord for Utena. It's invite only, though, so if you're interested, like, send us a DM or something like that. No spoilers for Madoka. Normally we don't give like 2 shits about spoilers anywhere in there.
But now since we're doing this,
now
there's a ban on spoilers for Madoka everywhere.
Which is freaking out half of the Discord right now. We're just itching.
Good. Whoever your mods are in that Discord, ban anyone who attempts it.
They will. Right. The only permissible spoiler is that I want to fuck Kyubey. We're doing that bullshit.
All right, well, we shall see.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you for watching, everybody, and we hope you turn into our next episode where we cover episode 1.
All right.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.